Hi there, that's Victor Canet. I hope you're well and doing well. I'm happy to come back to you this week as we talk about biblical flourishing for flourishing life. Last week, we kind of cast a vision on what the Bible tells us about flourishing. But this week, I think I wanted to talk and start by talking about the image of God, right? And that's the standpoint from which we understand our identity. In fact, in psychology, there are two ways that we see ourselves. One is to see ourselves as an agency, whereby we are kind of self-driven. We are the doers. We see ourselves as the doer, as a sole orchestrator of our life. But also the second way that we see ourselves could also be by seeing the self as an object, which is where the self concept comes about. We see ourselves as an object, or whereby we see ourselves essentially as an object because it's based on our interaction with our environment, with people around us, with our social context, and ultimately that also shapes our self-concept. And so these two ways of seeing ourselves becomes very fundamental. But I think I want to return back to seeing the self as the agent, because if you have the agency self, ultimately, it becomes very important. And once your agency is tied to the idea of the image of God, that you're a person that is made in God's image, I think it changes the way that you understand yourself, the way you carry yourself in the world as well. And so being created in God's image means ultimately that every person has worth, every person has purpose, every person has dignity. And so knowing that we are made in God's image, I think helps us to see ourselves as people that are loved, as people that are valued, and also as people that are guided, right, by an unforeseen hand. This ultimately guides us and allows us to live a life that truly honors our God. Now, we take our text in Genesis 1:27. It says, "So God created mankind in his image." Now, some commentaries or scholars have actually commented on this. For example, N.T. Wright says something to the tone that being made in God's image means reflecting his goodness and his love. And this essentially means that this gives us purpose. I want to stop there in a second. Imagine the fact that you know that you as a person, that your identity reflects God's love and goodness. That the way you see yourself as an agent, the agency itself, it's love and goodness. That you are created in this world to dispense the love of God and the goodness of God. When you have that mindset, it ultimately gives you a sense of purpose. Right. And so when, of course, we know of a number of studies, and a lot of studies that also shown a link between having a good sense of identity would ultimately support our sense of well-being. In fact, we see this even with Moses. Moses, oftentimes he felt unworthy to lead Israel. But when God reminded him of its calling, Moses found strength in his identity as God's chosen leader. I have a friend of mine, Pamela King, who is a professor at Fuller Theological Seminary. Also, she works within the human flourishing space. Her argument or thesis around flourishing is that flourishing should be about purpose and not necessarily about positivity, because positive vibes are cool, but oftentimes when the music ends, people are deflected, they're tired, they're exhausted, and they go back to their roots, right? For example, even think about someone who often feels inadequate. If you could imagine that person, I believe that if they know that they are made in the image of God, I think that can remind them of their unique gifts and their purpose. If they know that they're created to love and for goodness, imagine what that does to them and how that changes their sense of identity. And when they carry themselves like that, their agent, their sense of self, when they see themselves as love, as good, that transforms their self-concept. That transforms the way that they interact with their environment. Well, I have a reflection for you as I end today. I want you to write down a quality that you see in yourself that ultimately reflects God's image. How does knowing that you are created by God, that you're created for love and goodness, how does knowing that in itself even change how you view your purpose? How does knowing that you have the intellect of God change how you view your purpose, or changes how you see yourself, your self-concept? I'd like to hear your comments, but it's been wonderful talking to you this week, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you next week on Biblical Wisdom for Flourishing. God bless you. Bye.
All engine running. Liftoff. We have a